All right, welcome back to WMAC Now with your host Chuck Stevenson. And tonight I want to talk a little bit about social media and how it plays a part in mixed martial arts. Excuse me. Lately I see a lot of fans going back and forth conversations about what a fighter is up to based on their social media posts. Like, are they training enough? Are they training too much? What their lifestyle is like, oh, they're not training so hard, or they're training too hard, or all they do is party, or they're more worried about being a model or something nowadays. Listen, I want to make this very clear. Do not invest too much into a fighter's social media. Okay? For the large part, social media is an illusion. Okay? You see what people want to see, and you don't see what they don't want you to see. Okay? I mean, social media is largely an illusion. Okay? Like, say for example, you know, you see a model, and this model is traveling everywhere based upon their Instagram. They're in Bali one week, they're in Thailand the next week, they're in uh, Jakarta the next. I don't know, name an exotic location. But it seems like they're constantly on vacation, but they're not actually like doing. None of their stuff is actually in part of a photo shoot. Yeah, listen, that's because they take so many photos when they do go on vacation that it looks like they're constantly on vacation. Okay? You're largely only going to see what a person wants you to see, which is usually the best aspect of their life. Okay? Particularly when it comes to like Instagram, which is mostly what this is going to be about. You're not going to see the crappy part of most people's lives. You're going to see, I mean, you might see some fighters, and they're sweaty and bruised up after some training, and that's like the worst that ever makes it to Instagram. Um, Not too many fighters are on Facebook as much anymore, and Twitter. It's largely an extension of Instagram a lot of the times for a lot of fighters. Um, and smart fighters, they'll use social media to play head games with their opponent, or to make fans think certain things about them and then get them talking about it. Okay, for example, they'll only show certain aspects of training. Like, they might want you to think that, oh, they're not working on cardio, so they're not going to show that they actually are working on their cardio. Or they might want you to think all they're doing is weightlifting. So they're going to show a bunch of pictures of weightlifting without showing any technique, because they don't want anyone to look at what their technique is like and how they're working on it. Okay? Fighters will purposely hold back certain aspects of training. For example, if I'm working on something new with my footwork, if I'm a fighter, say, I'm working on something new, trying to implement something new into my game with my footwork, why would I put that out on social media? I don't want my opponent and his camp to know that I'm working on something new for a fight coming up. I'm certainly not going to put it on social media for everyone to see and talk about it and dissect it a million times leading up to the fight, because then that fighter's camp is going to be prepared for it. Some will show posts of themselves looking bad in training. Like, for example, a fighter might show themselves with a limp during sparring. They might have only had that limp for a day. They might have stubbed their toe or something, so they can't walk right that day. But then it's gone the next day. But then they might have filmed that 2 or 3 times working like that, and they might show it 2 or 3 straight weeks. Got to think. It's all about playing. It's all about showing exactly what you want to show on social media. So if I'm working on something and I don't want people to see it, I'm not going to show it. But if I looked bad in something, maybe like one day out of a 6-week camp, I might want to put that up there to think maybe, oh, opponent's going to think, hey, this can be used against them, even though every single other day of camp, I was doing fine with that. So it's a lot of it's playing head games. Okay, let me talk about a couple examples. So let's look at Weili Zhang. Weili Zhang just seems like one of these people that trains and trains and trains and trains and trains and has no social life. Come on now. Nobody just trains and trains nonstop and has no social life whatsoever. She's just a very private person about it. That's a lot of fighters. A lot of fighters are very private about their personal life, and that's all they do is show training. So all she's going to do is show training. That doesn't mean that she doesn't go out with her friends and have a social life at all. She's just very personal about it. And also, she doesn't even run her own social media account. Her pretty much has a team running it for her. Another example, Joanna. A lot of people are really dissecting her a lot lately, saying, oh, well, she's too focused on modeling. She's doing modeling shoots this day, modeling shoots the next day. How do you know she's doing it consecutively? You don't. For all you know, she might be working 6 days a week, take a rest day 7, and then that's when she makes all of her commitments to her sponsors and doing all of that stuff. So if she works Monday through Saturday, guess what? She's not training Sunday, so she's dedicating that to doing work for her sponsors or whatnot. You gotta give them attention too, you know. Can't just expect them to throw money at you and not give back. But that doesn't mean that she's, taking large chunks of her entire week off in the middle of training camp to go do that. I seriously doubt it. She's a lifelong fighter. She knows what she's doing. And another example, and I keep talking about this fighter a lot, but hey, she's one of my favorites. Sahi Ham. She almost never shows training photos. In fact, if all you went by was her Instagram, you'd think all she did was post pictures of her dog all day, because that's like 8 out of every 10 of her IG posts are of her dog. Her dog sleeping, her dog snoring, her dog eating. I don't know. She obviously loves her dog and doesn't show too much in training. Why? Because she's busy training. That's why. She's not taking breaks to film the other fighters training and stuff. Or another example that she did, she only showed one specific type of training leading up to her fight with Ayaka Hamasaki. She was lifting a lot of weights, doing a lot of strength and conditioning leading up to that fight. So yeah, she showed a lot of posts of her doing strength and conditioning. It could lead one person to think, might lead one to think that, well, that's all she's working on. But any smart fighter is going to know that that's not all she's working on. She's obviously training hard, doing her MMA training and stuff as well. It's just that it's easier to show strength and conditioning training than it is to have someone film you while you're doing your MMA training. So anyway, those are 3 examples. And for one final note, before I go on this, some fighters just plain suck at social media. Actually, I'd venture to say the majority of fighters just don't know how to properly run social media. They're just not cut out for it. And that's why so many fighters actually turn over their social media accounts to their management team, which I do not recommend at all. But because you don't want them posting something that you might not want them to post for you. But some fighters, I kind of understand why they do it, because better to put it in the hands of someone that knows what they're doing and, than, fumble your way through it yourself. But anyway, whole point of this was, don't put too much into what a fighter posts on social media. I mean, I know it's kind of fun to speculate and stuff, but it gets kind of ridiculous after a while. And some people just make that some people make fight predictions based on social media posts. It's like, okay, if you want to do that, fine. But man, I hope you're not putting money down based on that. So anyway, guys, just don't put too much into it. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Of course, likes are always appreciated. And what are you waiting for? Subscribe to WMMA now, the fastest growing women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. You'd be a lot cooler if you did. And we'll see you next time.